As linguists, we tend to say Jamaican Creole. We're moving away from that. Personally, I am moving away from that. I no longer say Jamaican Creole, I would just say Jamaican. But the average Jamaican on the street will just say patois.
It was Charlemagne who once penned, "To have another language is to possess a second soul." Language has been a quintessential part of human development, and some might assert that it is the glue to our distinct histories and cultures. Then, there are those among us who not only have a passion for learning the languages, but have dedicated their lives to the advancement of those very languages. One such person is Dr. Tamirand Nena Delissa, who hails from our CARICOM neighbor island, Jamaica. Her direct involvement in the languages led to a turning point in her life. That turn brought her to Guyana.
In terms of growing up, I am Jamaican, born and bred. I normally find it a little bit challenging to say precisely where I'm from in Jamaica because I was born in St. Catherine, Spanish Town area. Then I moved to St. Anne, where I grew up until high school. After high school, I went to Kingston. And then after Kingston, I migrated. I did studies in Geneva, Switzerland. And after that, I came to Guyana, and here I am.
Coincidentally, the diversity in her name's composition quite nicely speaks to her field of study, linguistics. Dr. Tamirand Nena Delissa is the holder of a PhD in linguistics, with a particular focus on Creole language acquisition. This she completed in Geneva, Switzerland. In a modest way, she described briefly the process behind the actual translations. So how has it been? I mean, that seems like a monumental task to translate, as they say, the Queen's English into what seems to be just our colloquial way of speaking to each other, or as we say, slang, as they would define it. You know, how has it been to not only ignite a conversation about the importance of having the language stand alone, but the reception that you receive whenever you...
Okay, so the reception is fabulous. Everybody loves it. But I definitely would not say translating the Queen's language into any colloquial or, you know, any marginalized variety of English or all the bad names, bad English that they would normally give to it. For me, I see Jamaican as another language on the same level as we have English. I also see Guyanese Creole or Creolese and all the Amerindian languages of Guyana on the same level. For me, all languages are equal. All languages are designed to do the same thing. And that's what they have been functioning as over the years, to communicate. So let me say, it may have been a challenge, but we have means and ways to decipher that. So my objective was to use a variety that is distinct from English. And hence I chose to use a variety more towards the basilectal end of the continuum. Explained that before in terms of the variety that looks more like the African languages and not so much like the European languages. So in doing so, I would choose words that I know that are not English words. So for example, in Jamaican and in Guyana, for example, the word to eat. Instead of saying eat, some people say nyam. So I would opt for nyam to use instead of eat. In terms of structure, like to mark the past tense in Jamaica, well, past tense are, I don't want to go in the real syntax of it, but it's not generally marked. So if I should say mnyam the food, it would mean that I ate the food without any marker. But if I should say me did nyam the food, it means that it's like kind of pluperfect tense. You ate it before something else. You did do it before. But so it is that I was capturing, because you have lots of different words. So you could say me did nyam, or me bin nyam, or me ben nyam, or me wen nyam, or me wen. You know, you have lots of different ways of saying it. So in like those cases, I would opt to use the variety that is more widely used, and hence, even though did would appear to be closer to English than when, for example, because it's a variety that is most used, I opt for that variety. Also, the Bible was previously translated in Jamaican. And and I also use some of the conventions. So like the Bible, they use did instead of the other varieties. So I just opt to follow that convention.
Her passion to see the advancement of her local Jamaican and her newfound desire to ignite the same passions here with the Guyanese Creole led to her involvement in a project that would become very close to her.
That has been a request made by me. So at the time I was in Geneva, as I indicated, I studied there. I did my PhD in Geneva. And a colleague of mine who works on the translation of The Little Prince, Le Petit Prince, I don't know if you know it, but it's a very popular book in Europe. In fact, it is, besides the Bible, it's the most translated book in the world.
Wow.
Right, so it's translated into over 300, 400 and odd languages. I think over 400 languages. So there is a foundation that takes care of this translation. And a colleague of mine actually knew someone in that foundation, and he came to me and asked whether I would love to do it in Jamaican. So of course, this is a major opportunity for Jamaican. At the time I was writing my thesis, I was super busy up to my neck, but an opportunity like this, I could not resist. So I tend to use it kind of as a break in between writing. You get tired of writing or reading or studying, and I would translate. Translating in and of itself is a challenging task, because of course, you know, we have different ways of saying things and we have different varieties. So you have some people who would speak, I'll just call it a richer Creole. They would say it's a basilectal variety, but for the general audience, I suppose, might not have a clue what that means. So it is a variety that is more closer to the African languages. So yes, we have different varieties, and I chose to use a more basilectal variety, and I would normally make contact with my family and friends just to ensure that this is okay. So I'd like, how do you say X, Y, and Z? And I would judge it against what I thought. And in some cases, I even did surveys to say, okay, check with 20 people and, you know, see how would they say that. And I use that variety. So it was challenging, but it was a great experience. This was done in 2016. Editors of another major translation, this now is more popular in the Americas, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, you know that book, right? So that too is translated in a lot of languages. And they contacted me. They said that, oh, I saw the translation of The Little Prince and we love it. And I want to know whether you could translate Alice's Adventures into Wonderland. And I grabbed the opportunity and I did that. So those are two books that are translated, two classical novels that are translated in Jamaican.
Dr. Delissa currently serves as the Assistant Dean in the Faculty of Education and Humanities at the University of Guyana. Her attachment to the faculty has been fruitful, and while some pondered on the future that was to be after COVID-19, Dr. Delissa found herself involved in yet another special project. This project, in essence, what do we say? Yes, killed two birds with one stone. An excerpt from the book reads,
Zero hold she breath and then she say, Yo, me a Ario, the thing say. Me never ever see one Ario in me life, Sira say. Well, me been there here all the time, Ario say. Me come from inside of your heart. If me gaia, then me can tell all the picnic them in the world about the coronavirus, Sira say. Me can be one star gal. But here na Ario, it's safer how we travel with the coronavirus all around. As long as you're with me, Sira, Ario say, nothing can trouble you when are we there together.
It's an easy read and a pleasant listen for any local storytime activity. Here's a look at the covers of her other works.
Recently, since the COVID outbreak, I was just merely browsing Facebook. Nobody contacted me this time. I was browsing Facebook and I came across the book, and it was being translated in a lot of languages because, well, My Hero Is You, that's the title of the book. And they wanted the information to get to as much people as possible across the world. And I reached out to them and I said, hey, I saw your book and I want to know whether it's cool for us to translate this in Jamaican and also Guyanese Creole. And they indicated that yes, this would be great to translate it in both languages. And Jamaican is my native tongue, so I grabbed that opportunity. I translated it. I got who I knew could double check for me, who linguists and translators and so on, for just to verify the authenticity of the book. Yes. And for the Guyanese Creole one, I'm not Guyanese, but I do understand enough Guyanese Creole, and I do believe I can speak it, but then you'll hear that I'm Jamaican or something odd may just come out. So I thought that I would grab one of my students for this. So I did a course. I was a facilitator of a course in Guyanese Creole. It's actually called Exploring Guyanese Creole. And a part of that course, we had to teach students the writing system. So one of the objectives was for the student to be literate in Guyanese Creole. So I have lots of outstanding students, but I just grabbed one of them, and her name is Colleen Fraser. So she was willing to help me to do this work. And yeah, that was that. I translated the first draft, I sent it to her, she made her corrections, we worked together on it, and then we sent it to 2 other people to just review, to check to make sure it is good. That was Charlene Wilkinson and Professor Ian Robertson, who are both Guyanese. So yeah, so we have those translations that are now available to the public.
She acknowledged that there were challenges, but these also presented the opportunities to rise above them. She relayed that recently she was stuck in Jamaica for a year, not being able to fully fulfill her duties. Nonetheless, with the support of family, friends, and her adopted university family, she overcame and returned to these shores.
Initially, and I happened to just end up being in Jamaica. I kept rescheduling flights until I rescheduled my flight for January the last time. And I decided that, I'm not rescheduling my flight anymore. I'm just gonna say this is it, and whenever I can get to come back. Mark you, I left for vacation. So I left my apartment, I left my car, I left literally everything. I have a son who was in school here in Guyana, so he too could not get to continue school and all of that craziness. But he was continuing online because they were online until January. So in January, I had to get him into a school back in Jamaica, which luckily I managed to do. And we were just there until I happened to recently meet a doctor who was, I was about to say kind enough, but I'm not even sure if it's kindness, who understood my position. And he said, absolutely, I could write the exemption, and he did. Oh. So now that I have an exemption, I was quick to rush back to Guyana to do all the things that I didn't get done. But the other good thing is that I have a very supportive faculty who understood, and I should say university community, because it's not only the faculty, it's the university too. So they understood my position, and I was allowed to continue working from Jamaica. I could also add that I am the Assistant Dean in the Faculty of Education and Humanities.
There will always be those challenges, those setbacks, those late nights and early days, those days when all hope is lost and a way can't be found. But in the words of those who have beaten the odds, never stay stuck and be your genuine self. What would you say to someone who may be passionate about what you're doing but is unable to make the first move? How do they begin? It doesn't necessarily have to be in linguistics, about anything they're passionate about, but they're stalled, they're stuck.
Well, I really don't know in terms of not able to begin, because that's the first step. You just gotta step out there. I mean, in terms of not having the resources and stuff like that, if you have a mindset, you know what is it that you want. Sometimes you don't even have to know what is it that you really want, but you have an idea where you want to go. Then you start putting baby steps in place and you work towards your goal. I would say definitely don't let anybody stop you from reaching your dream or what you intend to do. You're passionate about it, even though it may not be something that everybody might think that, oh yeah, this is a great thing to go into. Do you. You have to do you. It's not about them, it's about you. I would use even my situation, because people would always ask, why would you want to study Creole languages? Who cares about Creole languages? Those are, I mean, everybody talk Creole, and that's it. It's nothing, they don't see it as anything good or profitable. But indeed, it is quite useful, and yeah, just go for it. Just go for it.